This was a story that I wrote 5 years ago. I always told myself that when I was ready, I was going to elaborate into something much longer. When I first came up with this idea, it was supposed to be Victorian, old fashioned, wigs with the big dresses, carriages, castles, and horses, and even Old English. But instead, I decided to go into another direction. I kept the same storyline, just the imagery. Time, also the culture has changed. I chose to put a lot of my Cuban roots into this and chose to make the story Spanglish. I'm really pleased with the choices I made. Well, here it is. Ana y las Tres, episode 19. Valentina, part 2. So in episode 17, Secret's mother kept hidden, in the scene where the girls are at the table and the mother's scolding them about the book, Valentina's phone goes off, and it's Megan calling. In the beginning of this, we find out that Megan is Valentina's girlfriend, and she's been keeping this a secret from her mother, knowing that she would never approve. In the beginning of this, both girls are at a gay club, a place her mother would never allow her to go. When Anna and her sister were both sleeping, she snuck out of the mansion from the window. Megan wanted to bring her out, since she couldn't make it to her last birthday, knowing how Anna loves to throw huge parties. Anna was starting to assume there was something between the two girls, especially since Megan was 2 years older than Valentina, and she never attended any of the schools she went to. I wanted to change the atmosphere and put Valentina in a more liberating place. That's why she's in a gay club. So for the first time, she's out of that toxic environment, looking around at all the teenagers laughing, dancing, drinking, having a good time, and she feels free. It's so different from how she was raised: proper etiquette, classical music, dresses, fancy jewelry, and ballroom dance. Valentina, in the middle of the dance floor, still taking this all in, this new world she knew nothing about. Her girlfriend finds her and tells her that this is so overwhelming, but in a good way. She's happy that her girlfriend brought her here. She wishes that life could be like this all the time. Megan tells her, "You're 18 now, you're an adult, you can make your own rules." Valentina responds with, "Right, but I still have to finish high school. My mother isn't giving us our share of the inheritance until 21, and I can't leave my sister behind. My mother is trying to do the same thing she did with Daniela, marrying her off to some rich man." I felt since the last episode was so intense and emotional, I didn't want to bring back so much reaction from the daughters that are left behind because it kind of spoke for itself. Then Megan tells her that everything is happening so quickly. Graduation, she understands her sister being left, but she continues, "If you had a chance, wouldn't you take it and leave Megan? Give her the option to actually run away with her," which at the end of this episode, she actually does do. When Valentina looks back at the dance floor, she sees a woman looking back at her. At first, she thinks she's trying to pick her up, but the look is so intimidating, it's kind of hard to read. Valentina looks at the time, making it look like it's time to go. But she's really freaked out, so the girlfriend understands, puts down both drinks, and exits the back door of the club. Before walking to the parking spot, they walked in an alley between the two buildings, another club, and some abandoned jewelry shop. They started to kiss as a reflection glowed down on them, and even though it was dark, you could see the two shadows. When the woman came out of the club, she was in the opposite way, cornering them. They didn't realize until they pulled back from the keys. Megan stood in the way of Valentina, ready to defend her girlfriend, even if it was a fight. Megan asked the woman, "What do you want?" And then the lady says, "Valentina's name." Valentina looked at the woman, but she didn't look familiar. She asked her, "How do you know my name?" And then she assumes that maybe her mother paid someone to follow her to see where she was going. And that's when she realized this is Angelica. And she explains to her that she used to work in the mansion before the girls were even born. This scene was such a shocker, especially for Valentina, because she finds out things that she didn't even know were true. Angelica tells her that she wrote the book, The Rich, the Famous, and the Fraud. She then continues to tell her that Cynthia Smith was not her aunt. She was her father's first wife. She also told her their mother pushed her to that road of depression. There's one thing in this story that I keep untold. There's a part where Angelica says, "Let's just put it this way. Your mother made a lot of people angry." Someone hired Angelica. She was never a chef, and this has a lot to do with Cynthia Smith when she was starting to pick up on the affair. In this story, which is told from Anna's perspective, Cynthia Smith has no idea. But after I finish the story, I do plan on writing another one from Cynthia Smith's perspective, and that's when you'll see the other pieces of the puzzle. Even though all of this makes sense to Valentina, so did a lot of things that her mother told her. So she then says to the woman, "How do I know I can trust you?" Angelica pulls out a little black book that was burned on the edges and hands it to Valentina, telling her to read it. She then apologizes for publishing the book and maybe hurting the girls' reputations at school. When Megan and Valentina get into the car, Valentina goes through the pages and researches her mother's dark past, revealing a lot of things she thought were one way and now finally seeing the truth. After that, Valentina has her mindset. She's running away with Megan. Megan parks by the gates. Valentina climbs them and walks to her window. And then Anna opens the front door. She looks at her. They both get into the house, and finally they have the final showdown. Stay tuned for the next episode.